this point, there's a fine gentleman who's been here all morning, and we've been smiling at each other anytime we look into each other's face. Yes, but I understand that he is a believer of inspiration, and anybody who gets closer to him is inspired to be better. Yes, and now talking about driving organizational performance and agility with project management, he is a better person to send us back into our world of work with as much inspiration as possible. He is a PMI board member, and he's here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's welcome Mr. IKE NWANKWO.
Mi Mamo Ajo. Did I get it right? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The good thing about being last as a closing keynote speaker is that everybody has talked about what you need to talk about. So really I can just leave the stage and go, because everything I've heard as a build-up towards my speech has been spoken about. So what I have to do now is think on my feet and actually play around with my presentation, and due to time, and actually feel like calling the MD of ECG back, so those military guys I had can train us all on how to be better at timekeeping. When I was invited to speak, and they put the title up there, driving, I love that word, organizational performance and agility with project management, and then I should speak about something. I looked at the title and said, I'll speak about the title. Because the title itself says everything. Driving organizational performance with agility and project management. So today, that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to break my presentation into sections. And as a PMI board director, I have to talk about PMI. So I'm going to take us back and let's talk about PMI, the visions, why it's there, why we have volunteers, and how we move forward on that. Then I'm going to go forward into what we call the project economy, because there are three principles behind the project economy that I want everybody to understand, because that gives the baseline for what I'll talk going forward. And then I'll talk about some other things. Then I'm going to round up with Africa, specifically Africa. And I took a number of notes throughout today around questions or problems or scenarios that everybody talked about. And I'm going to give my own perspective as responses to those questions so that we can have a complete picture and then we can move forward. So, in the past, people used to look at PMI as a US organization. How many people still do? Oh, brilliant. That's the first time I've got the response of no hands. PMI is no longer a US-based organization. We do have a lot of members in the US. We do have a lot of staff in the US. But it's truly a global organization. And that globalness, if that's the correct English word, is represented by a board of directors. As you can see on the map, there are 12 of us in total, all volunteers. So I'm a volunteer, of which out of the 12, I'm one of them. We volunteer because we have a passion for the organization. We have a passion for PMI, and we have a passion for interacting with yourselves in order to make the organization and the profession what it can be in the future and what it should be today. As you can see, we're all over the place there. The other thing to note is the numbers, the vast numbers that we provide in terms of our membership, our certification, our chapter members, our volunteers, and our chapter volunteers. Massive numbers. And we have over 305 chapters, of which 22 plus are in Africa. Now, there's no other project management organization, membership or not, that can boast that level of engagement and involvement in Africa except PMI. Clap for PMI, please. And then George touched on it. We don't do things on our own. We actually work with organizations as well, and it's called the council. So we have a number of corporate organizations who come together as part of this council to help us, help you, and the profession structure it so that we get a good organization and a good project management profession going forward. We work together. So it's not only about what our volunteers say or what our members say, it's also about what these corporate organizations are saying, because they are deep into the profession. They are handling project managers and project professionals. They are seeing the day-to-day problems that happen within project management, and they're bringing that information and knowledge and experience to this council so that we, and I use the word we because we all do it together, and I'll talk about that later, we need to shape the way the project management profession needs to grow. We, and I'm going to use the word we a lot. Sometimes we look for other people to do things for us. That should not be the case. We should look for how we, which includes you, should be able to do things in order to promote what you want to do, and specifically in order to promote development. Not only that, we also do research and have manuals that talk about trends, talk about future thinking, talk about innovation, talk about project management offices, if you want to use that word. Some specific to Africa, as you can see there. And then I remember earlier the guy on AI and technology talking about the handbook, Digital Transformation Handbook. PMI has one as well. So we're all thinking along the line. Because we do talk about digital transformation. We do talk about various aspects because we bring thought leaders together so that we can understand what the future is about our profession and then how we can move it forward together. Overall, what does PMI deliver? Why does PMI exist? Now, over the years, we've summarized it into 3 key main areas that you'll all understand. One is that we like connecting. Events like this, connecting people together so that you can talk, share experiences and knowledge. We also like giving back, and it was talked about earlier. We need to give back. Some of you are extremely experienced, and you want to share that experience with others so that they learn. And I'm very keen on this word I call reverse mentoring, so that I learn as well. So it's not about, you giving, it's about also receiving. That's all about connecting. And thirdly, learning. Events like this create learning, knowledge, transfer, and give you that experience. But we can't do this, or we couldn't do this with our previous culture. So I think it's this year, we've come up with new cultural values and behaviors. Because with any organization, you have words like culture eats strategy for breakfast. Who has heard that before? Fantastic words, because with any organization, you cannot transform if you don't have the right culture to transform. Now, PMI, being around for 50 plus years, knew that in order to change, in order to prepare itself for the future, it needs to change its culture, and it came up with 5 cultural values. Make it easy. We all know that our job is about delivering things, so why do we have to make it complex? If we are the experts at doing what we do, if we are the experts trying to tell people how they should do things, don't make it complex. Let's make it easy. When we're interacting with people, let's make it easy. We need to aim higher. Don't stay where we are and just say, yeah, we're okay, PMP is the gold standard, so that's it. No, we need to aim higher and continue to aim higher. Be welcoming. That's standard. We do it all the time as volunteers, as people. We welcome ourselves. So anything that comes, take that information. Be welcoming about it. Embrace curiosity. It's all about innovation. So when people are talking about, be curious, ask questions. Let's see where it goes, because you don't know unless you ask. And as I said, together we can. And the spirit is there, is that let us do it all together. So now you understand this. So what? And I like using that word, because if anybody makes a statement, I like asking the question, so what? What does that mean to me? What does it mean to my organization? Or what does it mean that will help me? So what? Yeah, I've heard all this stuff. This guy called IKE is standing on the stage. He told me about what PMI does. So what? Well, the first what is about what PMI calls the project economy. What is the project economy? It's a term that has been put together, and it focuses on several things. There are 3 main points around it. The first point, as you can see on the board, focuses on 2 key things. People need to have the right skills. Okay? It is important within the project economy, you have the right skills. And the most important thing, mindset. You cannot change if you're not thinking right. And then you need to back that up with the right skills. The project economy says that individuals have to have the right skills and the right mindset in order to carry out initiatives. It also talks about organizations. So it's not only about the people having the right skills and right mindset. Then you work in an organization that has the wrong skills and wrong mindset, you have a clash, it won't work. So the decision makers in organizations, the leaders, the CEOs, the MDs, whatever you want to call them, need to be able to apply those right skills to deliver value. The second change in the concept of the project economy. And the final thing, when you do all that together, you need to give these individuals and the organization enablement powers, the ability to do, and you need to empower them to be able to do. If you put these all together, you get a framework for an organization that leads to organizational performance. You've got the people that have the right skills, they've got the right mindset, then you've got management or leadership applying those skills and mindsets within the organization and enabling the individuals and empowering them to make ideas a reality. That is the project economy. Again, I'll ask the same question. So what? So now you know what PMI does. Now you know what the project economy is. So what? How do I get there? How do I actually utilize this? And some of you might actually know the answer to the question. And what I'm going to do is take everybody back, because we've been talking about a lot of things today, but let's go back to the core of project management. Let's go back to the core of the principles behind project management and why we do it, or why it is key in terms of driving the future of organizations, or as PMI says, key to making ideas a reality. First of all, let's look at some research, because I'm going to focus on this research. And as I said earlier, we do a lot of research. So there are 3 elements to this research that I always find valuable. The first one, as you can read it, actually says that if you really, and I'm going to use the word properly, if you really want to get something done, do it as a project. Executives have confirmed it. This is exact research that states it. So your mindset with the right skills and the right mindset, something like that, right skills and the right mindset in the right organization that utilizes that, should be thinking that if I, as an organization or an individual, really want to get something done, I need to make it a project. Only by making it a project do I have a level of guarantee or more success in getting that thing done. Principle 1. The second principle there, based on research, really says, and I summarize it in my own words due to time, projects do not deliver themselves. If anybody can show me a project that they said, here's a project, please, project, go away and deliver yourselves, tell me when you've done, then AI is rubbish, because that would be fantastic. Projects simply do not deliver themselves. Who does? People. So the second important thing that research has shown is that irrespective of anything that's going on, only people deliver projects. So therefore, if you understand that people deliver projects, you have to skill them up to be delivering the projects. Forget about everything else, because you can have everything else that is fantastic. If you don't have the right people there to deliver the project, forget it. It won't work. Key principle you have to understand, because it will relate to what I'm going to say further. The third thing is really about project management itself, being a highly cognitive skill. That's important, because if you really properly look at yourself as a project professional, and I talk about why I've changed from project management to project professional, is that if you really understand your role as a project professional, you'll understand that is more than what we used to call the technical project manager. It is much more, because you have to use a lot more higher cognitive skills. So the question is, what are those higher cognitive skills? The question is, if we put all these 3 together, what does that mean? And I go back, and so what? Well, again, PMI is an advocacy organization. It puts information forward. It comes up with theories and practices and real-life experiences of the best way to get there. One of the principles it's put together is what we call the talent triangle. How many people know about the PMI talent triangle? Wow, not as many. Okay, not as many. Brilliant. So I can talk about it. This is the PMI talent triangle. 3 aspects to the talent triangle. So let's forget, well, project managers like triangles for some reason. I don't know why. But in this particular one, there are 3 aspects to the talent triangle. The first aspect, ways of working in light blue. Okay? Mastering diverse and creative ways of getting things done is the way I like to look at it. So in the good old days, okay, that is, how do you get that project delivered? What are the ways of working to do it? Now, some people say in the good old days, the ways of working was waterfall. Today, people add agile. But the key principle is just ways of working. So I don't care what you call it or which one you use. If you're using your higher cognitive skills, then you get into a situation on a project where you will determine what is best. I've worked in organizations where they come in and say, we're an agile-based organization, so please deliver this project, you must use agile. And you go in, they have no idea what agile is. They heard the word is a good buzzword, yeah? They put it in there and say, don't do agile. And you get in and like, geez. And even when you attempt to train them and make them understand what agile is, they're just not ready. Because really that particular project didn't need agile. It needed waterfall. Or it needed a hybrid. So I get into the habit and say, don't tell me what ways of working to do for my project. Again, somebody mentioned about consequences for speaking out and things like that. High cognitive skills, right mindset, right organization. You should have the ability to say that. Because if you don't have the ability to say that, don't get into project management. Because that's one of the key things. You need to stand up for your project. If somebody has given you the responsibility to deliver a project, it is your job. Forget about it. You should be in a position to even tell a CEO, sorry, this is my responsibility. It's handed over to me to deliver this project. I've looked at all the X, Y, Z, 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 and this is the way I believe is the best way to deliver it. If you decide that you want to do it X, Y, and Z, then don't hold me accountable. There are many ways you can do it. You can resign. Obviously, most of us won't do that, but there are many ways of doing it. So always think about that, okay? Ways of working, talent triangle. Business acumen. We all talk about vision. We all talk about different things about doing it. How many people, now let me rephrase that. I have seen many project managers come into organizations and don't even really know what the organization is all about. Don't really understand the vision and the strategy of the organization, and they want to deliver a project within that organization in isolation. What is that a recipe for? Thank you very much. You need to have that business acumen in order to deliver projects effectively. You must, as today's project professional, understand that. That is part of the talent triangle here. You must understand that. If you don't, then again, I say you're in the wrong profession. You cannot drive organizational performance. You cannot be agile with project management if you don't understand these two concepts. But how do you get to a position where you begin to understand these concepts, where you begin to put everything together so that you can deliver projects and you're now abiding to the principles of the talent triangle? You need to have power skills. We talked about power today. Actually, we talked about power in two different ways. One from an ECG perspective and the other one from a leadership perspective. But you need to have power skills. Power skills are what other organizations call soft skills. Within PMI, we uplifted it a bit because we need to show within the profession that it's about your position of authority, your position of authority in order to deliver. And that's why the word power skills was used instead of soft skills. And we didn't want to confuse it with a lot of other things. So what are power skills? What are the details behind the talent triangle? And I'm not going to go through all of them, but please feel free to look through it. There are several things around the talent triangle that we all should learn. And when I talked about upskilling yourself and skills are important, is that one thing you should always remember: never stop learning. So no matter what position you're in, how old you are, or what level you've reached in an organization, never stop learning. The talent triangle gives you the ability to continue to learn, to continue to look for different areas in which you can further broaden your skills. And I like to specifically pick on a number here based on another research that PMI does. So the slides will be made available, so I won't go into the details here. 4 4 primary skills are picked up by research done by PMI from the Pulse of Profession. Communication, we all know that's standard. Anybody that has done any project management course will understand that communication is critical. Problem solving, and I'm going to touch on problem solving. And I'm going to come back to Africa. I'm Nigerian, so if I change to pidgin, I'm trying to get an effect. We too, they complain. Translate. We complain a lot. Okay? When Moses was talking about speak out, let's stop complaining. The narrative about Africa, some of us are doing it ourselves. Some people are doing it here. Yeah? In another conference, I said, I'm not going to talk negative. I don't want to hear anything negative about Africa. So let's start talking positive. Okay? We all hear the positive side from other projects. Internationally, outside. They had negative sides, but they don't talk about it. When the positive comes out, they're like, yes, we have delivered X, Y, and Z, blah, blah. And everybody looks, wow, that organization is brilliant. When it comes to Africa, now wow, they too chop money, they do this one, Nigerians or Ghanaians, nothing can work here. Oh. That's the narrative we get out. We need to stop doing that. How do we stop doing it? We are problem solvers. Simple. If you see a problem, it is our duty as project professionals to look for solutions. Not to talk about the problems and then stop. It is our duty to look for the solutions and find innovative ways to get across it. Not to step back and say, blah, 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 or we're waiting for the leaders to do this, or we're waiting. Some of the best ideas have come from cleaners in toilets that have improved massive changes in organizations. So it's not about the leader, it's about the whole. Everybody has a role to play in innovation, a role to play in change. What we need to do as Africans is change our own narrative. How many people can boast of an excellent project that has happened in Africa? Some of you come up like that. Yeah, there's one, I know one. If I ask you the same question about any other country, oh yeah, you come up, yeah, the World Cup is happening. Oh yeah, they did this massive train here. Oh, when it comes to Africa, it's low. Somebody talked about research and data when it comes to Africa. We all have it. Everybody in this organization, everybody here who works for an organization must have a successful project they've delivered. So why don't we know about it? We need to change that narrative and thinking because we can solve problems and it's our duty to solve problems. Collaborative leadership, again, the data set is clear on that one, and there's strategic thinking. Again, when you look at the talent triangle, it talks about the business acumen and it talks about power skills, that falls under that. So that's key. Again, as PMPs, and I'm going to hesitate because it's not always PMPs, but as project professionals, and again, when you look at the PM book, it talks about principles around it that we should all abide to because now is the opportunity for people who are project professionals to shine. And I'll talk more about that when I go into specific details around Africa and how we can move forward on that. So I'm going to speed through these slides. But as I said, PMI itself understood in order to make transformation, in order to change, it needed to change its culture. So PMI is practicing what it preaches. So you within your organizations, government, education, whatever it is, need to also understand that. If you want to make change, you need to have transformational leadership there. And there are books and research. So everything I'm saying here around some of the diagrams are based on books. Transformational leadership. Role models. Trusted and visionary. Think future. Think of the ways of doing it. There's so many projects in Africa that people have thought and done it forward. People and culture goes without saying. And then justice. Yesterday in the bar we're talking about something. Punitive actions. Sometimes we need to be able to punish ourselves for not doing things right and know that we can. Or speak up because something is going wrong and know we won't be punished. Simple steps there. This is interesting statistics because PMI research has shown that 25 million, and I repeat that word, 25 million new project management-oriented roles will be required by 2030, 7 years' time. 25 million. And when I say project-oriented roles, I'm talking about project managers, project analysts, everybody roles within the project professional, should I say, envelope. 25 million. That is 2.3 million annual job openings every year. And there's a slide I'll go through later that talks about the population of Africa. So what population of Africa is going to start fulfilling these roles, and how do we take it forward? I get to that. So Moses talked about it, and several people talked about it. And I'll go into a bit more detail here around what transformation and how it happens today. The number of Vision 2030, 2040, 2050, 2060, or 2065 documents I have seen in my life, extremely powerful documents, well documented, well researched, full of innovation and ideas, fantastic documents. I've seen tons. Beautiful documents. Most of the beautiful documents come from Africa. You read it, you're proud. But there's something missing. There's always something missing. And Moses talked about it. The thing is that they're all a bunch of initiatives. The eye in that diagram shows a bunch of initiatives. So even when it's passed down to an organization, they're still independent initiatives. To my left of the diagram, they're governed by different people. Different organizations within the country or within the department within an organization. There's various forms of business as usual that is not even talked to that actually have to fit in this initiative. And then when it comes to people, technology, and infrastructure, forget it. So you have this fantastic vision. In today's environment of VUCA, and these days there's a D other side of it, but in today's environment of VUCA, we have these 20, 30, 40, 50 visions talk about several initiatives, but as Moses accurately put it, no action plan about how. Some of the organizations don't know the how. Project management has not been involved in that process. Some of the organizations think they know the how. Let me give you an example. And at any point you think I'm wrong, stop me. Let me imagine I'm the king of Wakanda. In Wakanda, I promise healthcare for everybody. In my wisdom, to do that, I have decided that I'm going to build a hospital in every single major region of Wakanda. As part of building those hospitals, I've awarded a contract through a tentative competitive bid to, let's say there are 20 regions, to 20 contractors, each for each particular area. 2 years later, the hospitals are completed. So in my box of bunch of initiatives in the earlier diagram, I take one of the eyes. Absolutely false. Absolutely wrong. Not thinking. Let me explain why. Building hospitals doesn't provide healthcare. A hospital is a building. It might as well have been a hotel, a dormitory, doesn't matter, because I built a hospital, okay? What is really critical when you start dotting the I's of various initiatives is to understand the vision and the strategic intent. To build a hospital, first of all, you build a building, standard. Issuing a contract does not make it a project. I'm going to repeat that. A lot of people make that mistake. They've issued a contract, and next minute the word contract vanishes, and it's a project. Why is it a project? Everything's on the contractor side. There's no client involvement. You don't know whether you're getting value. The contractor on that side is looking for profit. And if you're not careful, he's looking to skim. Okay? A hospital is like a project. It doesn't cure on its own. What does it need? People, doctors, nurses, equipment. Okay? Now, in my wisdom as the king of Wakanda, I didn't know that. None of you advised me. So when the project fails, you say, look at that guy, king of Samle. He built hospital, look, he's dying there. But what was your role? All of you clapped along the process. None of you thought. You have to be strategic thinkers. So what is involved in providing health care? Keyword. Doctors. Where are the doctors coming from? So, where are the training schools? Did I mention anything about Wakanda? When I watched the movie, I didn't see any training school for doctors. So, where's that coming from? Which means that the Ministry of Works and Housing has built in hospital has to now to talk to Ministry of Health. Most hospitals and new buildings like that are built in rural areas first, because there's no space in the city. So you have to get there. So you need roads, network, light, infrastructure. Now, you have to start thinking like that. The complete picture then provides healthcare. And it has to keep going, because the weight of which, doctors are leaving Africa, you probably have to continue training forever. But you need to do that. Doctors, nurses, the whole supply chain around that. That is what you have to think when you say provide healthcare. Today, most of those initiatives just stop at, I think provide healthcare. It's hospitals, and they're done. They tick a box. So there's no interaction. And in that particular example, you're talking about 3-4 ministries you have to deal with in order to get that particular initiatives. That's why a lot of visions fail, because I haven't thought it through. Again, we talked about being at the seat when these decisions are made. That's where we need to go. And that's why sometimes when we talk about project management, we tend to drop the word management, because it's not always about management. It's about leadership. It's about directorship. It's everything. So we stick to the word project professional. Wouldn't it be nice? And Moses again talked about it. If we could look at each of them as individual projects and do what we've been taught, because we all know about it. We don't practice what it is and say, that project and that project is related, so let's put it together as a program. That and that is related, so let's put it down as a portfolio. Can you imagine doing that for every single thing in a Vision 2050 document? So that how we're talking about, we know it. Projects, programs, and portfolios have been taught for as long as we know. How many of us actually put it into practice? So if you want to drive organizational performance and agility, start doing what you already know. Forget about, no disrespect, going to the moon. Or thing. Let's focus on what we know and start applying those techniques and tools today. Because only by doing so, we'll be able to make some of those visions come through. Organizations need to understand that, because structuring it together is important. Now, in the other slide, you'd have noticed that we had governance on one side, various forms of governance. In today's environment, we now talk of what I call, or what PMI calls, XMOs. You can call them PMOs, value management offices, project delivery units, presidential, whatever you call it. But one organization or group that is responsible for making sure that vision or portfolio of projects gets delivered and is still tying back into the vision. That's how you transform. And always involve your operations. Because in the good old days, and I always use the good old days, when you finish a project, you just do, boop, there you go, and you walk away. And they have no idea what it's all about. Today's time, when you properly look at vision and transformation, everybody's part of it. Together we can. And the last, not the last point, but the second to last point I'll talk about is the bottom layer about people. We know they must exist to deliver the project, technology and infrastructure. And I'm going to talk a bit, I've got a number of slides of technology, but I'll run through them. Next slide. I don't like using the word digital because I'm old school. So mine is technology, which is digital in a different way. But organizations, no matter what you do, you need to be digital ready. It's just fact. So anything you're looking at, anything you're doing, ensure as an individual and an organization you're digital ready. And that diagram just goes, how do you become a digital business? And I won't go into details. The slides are available and you can go through them. Next slide. There's more about it because we talked about AI. And AI is actually very interesting. And these are just things you should consider in readiness for AI. The word readiness is important because AI is here. It's been here for a long time. I know some of you pick up your phone, you start typing, please can you, and then it changes to no. I mean, it's thinking, it's predictive text, it's AI in different ways. AI is here to stay. It's good and it's bad. But as project managers, we're problem solvers. So if it's there, how do we solve that problem? How do we make use of that technology? How do we move forward? I know the number of times I sat in my car and the GPS is taking me somewhere and it goes and it says, go right. I laugh. No, I know that road. No. And the next turn right. I know they turn right. I sabi where they go. So those things are important because irrespective, it's still data inputted by people and it's still there, but it helps me. So most time, you use it. I don't know a number of people that don't use it, but you use it, but you're still there. The human is still there. I asked somebody the other day that do we know that the bulk of planes today can fly on their own? Yes, fact. Now, can you imagine if, ladies and gentlemen, this is your IKE speaking. Welcome to flight 4245 from Accra to London. Please take your seats. The AI will let you know the safety instructions, and the doors will automatically close in 5 minutes. Please be seated. I like when you said no way. But this is fact. We all know, irrespective of AI, that the human will still be involved one way or the other. So what we need to do is find out how we can better engage with AI. And these days, next slide, they talk about, let's go forward, next slide again. They talk about hybrid intelligence. Okay, so when we talk about AI, the concept here is hybrid intelligence. Myself, as an individual, project professional, and AI as a tool helping me. It's not taking over or helping me. Sometimes when I think, look, there are tools that exist that I can sit in a meeting and write the minutes of meeting. Beautiful. Why should I complain about that? There are tools that exist. If you put in the right data, and some of the slides earlier talk about data, they'll put me and give me my highlight report. So why should I complain? I shouldn't complain because my role should be more about the people. More about doing that. AI cannot convince you to work on a Saturday. I probably can convince you, either in the bar or outside when we have to work on a Saturday. That's the human part. I can tell AI, sorry, I'm not doing it. I know you said I should finish tomorrow. AI, I'm finishing the next day after. AI will just adjust the system and change your project. Because it's just data input. People will still be important, irrespective. And roles will change. That's all that will happen. What those roles will be when AI comes in, some of us don't know. Even the AI experts don't know. But roles will change, and new roles will come out. As Moses said, we had the abacus. Somebody else said we had the abacus before. Excel, to me, when it first came out, was wonderful. It was just like, whoa! I just put in a formula, it's done. Oh, Jesus, this is fantastic. Then, internet came out, like, oh, I just searched. Brilliant. Now it's AI. Yep. Tomorrow will be BI. I don't know. But, something will happen. And we are problem solvers as project professionals. So let's solve the problem. Next slide. So let me come back to Africa, my pride and joy. It's already home. The slides talk about it. 1.2 million people, 75% of the population are under 25. The total population would double by 2050. Half of the global population growth. Jeez. And then 25 million project management-oriented roles by 2030. So can you see some synergy? Can you see opportunity there? That's what we need to play in. We need to play in that. And that population growth only creates a large demand for infrastructure, schools, hospitals, roads. And we need to play a part as project professionals in that. How do we play a part? Is by understanding what we've talked about in terms of projects, programs, vision, and how to tie them in together. That's how we move it together. And before I close, because I've got a summary, something like that, sometimes corruption comes up. And I noticed that the guy earlier, when he was giving examples of corruption, it's only Nigeria used as an example. And I was sitting down here like, but I wasn't like, why now? It's like, it's true. I'm open and honest. But I'm going to give you a personal opinion. To me, corruption is an excuse. As a project professional, corruption is an excuse. Okay? First of all, the definition of corruption is so vast. I've seen people say, you charged a lot, so that project, there must be corruption going on. And I say, no, I'm just expensive. The real problem with corruption is when you don't deliver. And I'm going to focus. The real problem with corruption is when you don't deliver. And as project professionals and problem solvers, we need to find a way to deliver. Statistics, and this is based on Nigeria, said if 10% of Nigeria's projects were delivered, Nigeria would be better than Dubai. 10%. Overall, projects are there to help grow. So if we can deliver. So corruption exists, and Nigeria is not, I don't think it's on the corruption index, I don't think it's the lowest or highest. I can't remember how they do it. It's just one of the corrupt countries. But if you look at the other countries there, they're delivering. So why are other countries corrupt and they can still deliver? And then Nigeria, and we all talked about Ghana here, is also considered corrupt, but we're not delivering. So the problem is delivery. Step one. This is now food for thought. So let's not, and then we hyper on corruption rather than on why didn't it work. So if I was given a project and then 50% of the money, I had to pass out in brown envelopes, and then eventually I can't deliver the project, who's at fault? Who's at fault? Exactly. That's what we need to understand. Every single PMP signs up to ethics. So if you know you can't deliver, why are you taking it? Because you're doing bad for the profession, so therefore you're being unethical. However, if 50% of the project you're comfortable can deliver the project, and the other 50%, as my friend calls it, wastage, then it's and this I'm talking here, and in a Africa concept, is your responsibility, if you want to deliver that project, to problem solve how it's done. You can complain, but it's your responsibility to problem solve how it's done. If you can't, then don't do it. And there are many ways that people have used to problem solve, because projects have been delivered here. Despite, giving it to uncle, friend, daughter, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, projects do get delivered. The other thing I talked about is that I heard the word procurement mentioned a lot. And then they switched immediately to project. A procurement is not a project. The same way a contract is not a project. So every time I hear that, let's be very clear. What is a project? And I like the fact that you defined it and other people have defined it. What is a project versus what is procurement? The other thing is culture. Culture is who we are. We give back, financially and otherwise. And if that is the way it is done, project management states that you deliver projects within an environment. If that is an environment that says you need to say thank you, say thank you. How you say thank you is important. We need to problem solve it. I see everybody looking like, is he going to come up with a solution here now? But I think what I'm trying to say is that you have to come up with the solutions to do it. If your primary objective is to deliver a project that you know is going to provide economic growth, find a way. Because if you, as a project professional, cannot find a way, it is unlikely others will. And then when we look at projects, the other thing, again, just have time, yeah? The other thing, again, I like to talk about is the structure of projects. I'm IT and construction, I do it. The number of times and some of you in engineering will understand it. I've seen people being awarded contracts to build a road from A to E. And if any of you know how construction is done, the first thing the contractor will do, because it's awarded as a contract, not a project, is clear the road from A to E. Isn't that right? How many people in construction understand that? When you want to build a road, you first clear it. All the earth from A to E. As you're clearing, you're passing village B, village C, village D. The next minute, the money is finished. Then you're looking for money, maybe there's change of government, and that's the end of the road. If a project manager with the right cognitive skill is involved, he can look at the numbers and say, if I built A to B only, I'll finish the road. By finishing that road, I've given new road and infrastructure to city A and city B. I know how government works, if it's a government contract, or my organization works, or my budgeting, because it's every calendar year. So I've worked based on that knowledge of the environment, business acumen. So therefore, I have structured my project to suit that business acumen and the way they do the budgeting. So I'm not going to allow the contractor to do from A to E. I'm going to tell him to stop at B. He might clear to C, but I want to see A to B finished. So when we talk about agility, or agile in project manager, the different ways, it is also how you think and apply the project, because it can be done. Because all it is doing things in stages. I don't like sometimes, I don't use the word agile, I use the word agility because I prefer it. It's thinking, being flexible in how you're doing things. And why I was very cautious that a contract is not a project, because a typical, I've worked with contractors, a typical contractor wants to retain the entire project. So he will clear there, knowing that the next time you have to call him to do the substructure, then put the black paint on top of it. I call it black paint because sometimes first rains, it's gone. But, but that's it. But that's what they want to do. So when you start thinking differently and start challenging, embrace curiosity, and start asking those questions, you're changing your mentality. You're having the right sets and using those skills. So you're no longer technically the typical project manager. You're now showing your leadership style. You're now more into project leadership. And to me, that is where the future of project management is going. More leadership, more cognitive skills. Next slide, please. So, I'm going to key takeaways. I've mentioned them before, and I'm conscious that, yeah, good, mentioned them before. The project economy. It is an ecosystem. I talked about 3 different areas, you know. Those are important. If anything you want to take away from today, as closing, is think about that all the time. Look within your organization. If you're working, we're going to look at it. Do we have the right skills and the right mindset? If we don't, what can we do about it? Always think about that all the time, because that's how you move forward. Do we have the right decision makers using the right skills? Some people in some organizations actually know the people who can do the job, but because of X, Y, and Z, they leave them out. If you step forward, you can understand that and make use of it. Projectization, as I said it. Just remember, if you truly want to get something done, it will be done via a project. Anything else is not going to succeed as successfully as doing it via a project. Of course, the talent triangle, ways of working, business acumen, and power skills, you need to understand it. Transformation, the next giveaway point. We talk about it. We actually know how to transform because we've been trained, if you've been project, about the key principles, but we don't use it. We just talk about it or complain about it. Let's start using it. And no matter what we say when it comes to technology, digital will always have a key role to play. Next slide. So ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I'd like to say PMI's fundamental principle is about empowering people to make ideas a reality. Thank you.
Mr. NWANKWO, thank you so much. Please, do we have any questions? I'll take 2. Yes, first hand up, second one up.
My question is on the second takeaway. You mentioned the fact that if we want to get anything done, it needs to be projectized or taken through the PM discipline. Now, within every organization, there are hundreds or loads of things to be done. sometimes if you don't take care, people will offload their BAU onto you as a project manager. Now, how do you draw a very thick line between what becomes a project to be managed and what is it that has to be a BAU for other people to work on? Thank you.
Interesting question. I mean, the definitions for a project has a start and end. So that's a clear separation between BAU. BAU goes on, is a repetitive process. So that's fact. But the key thing there about dumping is when you start thinking about prioritization or the global vision, you need to prioritize. And I think a gentleman earlier called it, what did he use? Extreme prioritization or something like that, he called it. So, ruthless, thank you. Ruthless prioritization. So again, that cognitive skill, ways of working. You need to, as a project professional, you need to know. So you need to know like, sorry, this is not on my ruthless prioritization list, so therefore I'll drop it and I do the rest because you are packaging it. So it's really about you determining what is key to you or that business strategy angle that you're working for in order to do certain projects forward. The BAU stroke project is very clear, but the rest is about you prioritization, looking at the value stream. In that diagram, there was value, looking at what creates more value to you based on the strategic objectives of your organization or your department. That's how you separate the two.
All right, thank you. Next question.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Mine is just out of curiosity. I love numbers. And when I saw the numbers about how many people you have in PMI and 300-something branches in codes. Yes, chapters. So I just call them branches. I want to relate it to a company. Yet you are running with volunteers, 11,000 volunteers. So with that large number of chapters, you manage to be running with only volunteers. So I realized that one of the numbers that was not mentioned was the gross wealth of PMI. So I quickly picked my phone, multiplied the amount I pay by the total number of members to see. So what struck me very much was if PMI is making that much gross money, and I want to use the word gross, I don't know what to use with the money for, yet you are running with 11,000 volunteers. It possibly means that other global non-profit organizations could also run with volunteers. That is quite strange. So I want to find out if it's not hidden information, how much PMI is making and what is also being used, apart yet you are keeping volunteers. Thank you. The problem I have is that volunteers are good. Moses mentioned that it means you are expensive. But you can also get, unlikely, you can get waste to be volunteering for you. Most people can also withdraw because it's just volunteering. So I want us to be able to mix how we get professionals to come into the field of this volunteering. I'm a volunteer, I love it, but I will not complete the lesson. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll answer that in several ways. First, PMI has staff. There are over 700 staff, over 700 staff. So it's not only volunteers. The bulk, the volunteering is about giving back. People that are individuals that love the profession and want to give back. So between the staff who are 9 to 5, if you want to use that word, and the volunteers who are volunteering time, which varies, so it's not full time, that combination is what allows PMI to grow. Then when it comes to the financial information, that's available online. So I won't go into the details. Our financial accounts are there. You can look at it online and see what the numbers are. But we are about giving back advocacy and research, and we do a lot of that so that we can promote the profession, and the volunteers that we have help us do that because they love doing that as well. And that's how we combine the two together. And you find out that our model is hard to replicate across other organizations because they've tried. Because we've combined, in a different way, the knowledge and experience and the desire to give back with the organization as a whole to deliver. I've been a volunteer for X number of years, passionate about Africa, as so many of you would know, and it's because I want to do it. So I give up my time for free. And many of the Ghana chapter leaders there, they'll give up their time for free because they want to help the profession and PMI going forward. So it's a model that allows us to have 700. We can be more, but that partnership, together we can, is what makes PMI what it is today. A previous CEO used to call it the secret sauce, and that is exactly what it is.
All right, thank you. Please, let's appreciate him there. I believe we would have all evening, yes, to the night to have certain conversations on the side. So Mr. NWANKWO will be around, I guess. Fabulous. Please, let's have the PMI Ghana president come and do this presentation to Mr. NWANKWO. It is still the National Project Management Conference here at the Royal Century Hotel and Resort, Akosombo. Yes. And what we just witnessed was the closing keynote that was delivered by Mr. IKE NWANKWO. Now I'll have Mr. President right here on the stage as Mr. NWANKWO leaves the stage.